where nearly 50 race teams did battle on the slick waters of the lake. Then it was on to the Windy City, where massive crowds lined the famous Navy Pier to watch a large field race off the picturesque skyline of Chicago, Illinois. Now the tour comes to the open ocean off Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey for round number 3. In its 27th year, this race site always offers the competitors a true test of offshore racing. After a disappointing first race, defending champion Carlton Myers will be trying to retain his championship status.
We feel we'll do very well today if the motors run, but as I say, the race isn't over until it's over.
But there's a new sheriff in town, a gunslinger known as the Spirit of Texas, and they're fresh off a win in Chicago, and they want this one bad.
We came up to Point Pleasant, New Jersey to win this race. We were in Chicago 3 weeks ago. We got the checkered flag. We're here at Point Pleasant, New Jersey to get the checkered flag one more time.
It's a beautiful day in New Jersey where a full field of professional powerboat racers have come to race on the open ocean. Large crowds have gathered here on the Jersey Shore for the 27th running of the U.S. Offshore's SUNOCO Offshore Grand Prix. All the action is coming up next, so stay tuned. The United States Offshore Racing Association presents professional offshore powerboat racing. The best offshore racers in the world are here to take each other on in a winner-take-all duel in the sun. Drivers and crews are ready. Unbridled horsepower is ready to be unleashed. Catch all the action from start to finish as these high-tech racing machines run for the checkered flag. In a race where the difference between winning and losing is a matter of seconds, it's time to go racing.
Prime Network's presentation of the SUNOCO Offshore Grand Prix from Point Pleasant, New Jersey is being brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, and by Navistar, a world leader in diesel power, and by SUNOCO, SUNOCO Race Fuels, and by Motorola, your authorized two-way radio dealer.
From the scenic New Jersey shore here on the edge of the Atlantic, it's round number 3 of the U.S. Offshore Pro Tour for 1996. Hello, everybody. I'm Steve Michael, along with my partner, Joe Gates, and we welcome you to the SUNOCO Offshore Grand Prix. Well, nearly 50 boats from coast to coast have come here today to battle on this 10-mile course. And yes, Joe, in the open class, this should be exciting. A large field today, but the top 3 are just separated by 11 points.
Unbelievable racing. We have Bill Gifford SUNOCO machine. We have How Sweet It Is and Lightning Jacks, as you say, separated by only 11 points. And a boat that's won a race this year, that is formerly Carlos and Charlie's, now the Spirit of Texas. They may be a spoiler. They're after that checkered flag.
And in the modified class, the biggest field of the season here, but Moo will be a tough boat to beat as always.
Andy Trouthan, utterly fantastic, may have to prove that today. He's got a lot of competition on the water, and a lot of people want to stop his winning ways. We'll see if he can be fantastic.
And in the super stock class, another large field, but again, it seems to be a battle between Mobile One and Danka Sharp.
Mobile One and Danka Sharp, they fought all year. We'll have to see what happens. But Bodyguard, last year's national champion, they may try to sneak in and win the race today.
The drivers are heading to the boats. We're about set to go. This is the 27th running here in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. We'll come back to start things off when we return right after this timeout.
The powerboat we make. Introduce
Day here on the edge of the Atlantic as we get set for the U.S. Offshore round number 3, the SUNOCO Offshore Grand Prix here in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. Thousands of fans have lined the beach as this, the granddaddy of all offshore racing in its 27th year. Now the pace boat comes out. Let's go down and join my partner, Joe Gates. He's with the CEO of U.S. Offshore, Bill Gifford.
Thank you, Steve. Bill Gifford, SUNOCO race team. Bill, it's going to be a great day of racing. 11 points separates first, second, and third in the open class.
Yeah, I'm pretty much aware of that, Joe. It's going to be a tight race, a lot of competition here, good competition, and you know, it's going to be bumpy, I'm afraid, out there today. So we're going to have to kind of run a safe race.
How Sweet It Is, very close to you. Lightning Jacks in third place, and a boat out of Texas, maybe try to be a spoiler, formerly Carlos and Charlie's, that boat, the Spirit of Texas.
Very good crew. Art Lilly in there. Jack Carmody, there's all, you know, we've got Carlton Myers over here, Joey Imprescia, and John Woolley, and all these people are pros, you know. It could be anybody's race out there today. I think we've got 4 to 5 foot swells running, and it's going to be a matter of who can hold together.
Tell you what, you couldn't be more right. Steve, you got to watch all these boats in the open class. It's a big field, it's big water, it's a New Jersey shore race, and you know what that means. Competition all the way to the checkered flag. Back to you.
Thank you, Joe. And for the first time today, you get a chance to see the boats as they work their way out into the race course, or heading out with the pace boat in the milling area. Just moments away from the first of two big starts and a tremendous field of boats along with the great crowds. And we get a chance now to take a look at the standings. These are the class leaders as they come into the third round for 1996. Gifford Racing right up there, the SUNOCO machine leading the Open. Utterly fantastic, having a great year. And with the Super Stocks, Mobil 1 starting off strongly, but Dank is Sharp right alongside. Obsession with a great year so far. And Media Master and Team Progression both have won in the first two races in the production class. Very close in the standings as the boats now get out into the milling area. Strategy starts right now. The name of the game here is mental preparation. Can you get to the line first? And this man knows how to get to the line and to the finish line, as Carlton Myers is the defending champion here in the Open class. He has had some great races here in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. He may be the man to beat as we go inside the cockpit, and now he is trying to find a clear lane in order to try to get that hole shot and get perfectly in position for the start. Massive crowds along the beach as we get set for the start of the race. The pace boat's starting to move off a bit. Let's go down and join my partner, Joe Gates. He's got the weather and water conditions as it looks like there's already some problems on the course.
Thank you, Steve. Just prior to race time, as you can see with the flags behind me, the wind is stiffening. This could create some big rollers on open water. Could make a difference in the race today. Who knows what will happen? The deep V's, the cats. Will it be the water for the deep V's, the big water, or will it flatten out and the cats be the boss on the water? Back to you.
We're about set to find out, Joe, here on this 10-mile course today. 4 turns. And, Joe, it's going to be pretty exciting to watch these boats come down the front straightaway as we're just seconds away from the official start.
The Opens, the Modifieds, and the Pro Stocks are coming down the beach right now. The fans are on their feet. Steve, it's going to be an exciting day of racing. A lot of good water out there, some rollers, some of these boats taking air very early.
7 open boats, 6 modified, and 5 Pro Stocks in this first start. On the inside, it's In Contempt, the open boat out of Brick, New Jersey. Patrick Patel, he finished 7th at the first race and 3rd in Chicago, and he's trying to get up in the top 3. But there is the SUNOCO machine leading in points in the open class.
We jump on board. Bill Gifford Racing on the SUNOCO machine. That's the wing camera, a great perspective. Throttling, of course, Rich Dancision. Both these men really pushing hard. They're at the top of the heap in the open class, want to maintain that lead.
This boat a year ago finished 3rd in the standings in the open class. Today, they are leading in points as we watch now. How sweet it is on the inside, that beautiful red machine out of New York. That's Carlton Myers now at the controls, trying to move themselves up as we go on board the Spirit of Texas with Jack Carmody.
Jack Carmody handle the driving. On the other side, of course, Art Lilly on the sticks. Both these men really want to win this race. They came off a win in Chicago. They want to double up and see if they can do 2 in a row here in New Jersey.
Well, Joe, on the inside of the course, here we get a chance to see 3 open boats going side by side. The battle for the lead here. How sweet it is on the inside. Then you've got In Contempt, and on the outside, you've got Bill Gifford with SUNOCO Racing.
Carlton Myers on board on the in-cockpit shot. Joey Impressia on his other side on the sticks. Both these men trying to get up in the lead, trying to run hard, and trying to take over the lead. Last year's national champion. They want to try to see if they can do it again.
Had a chance to see some of the bouncing going on in the cockpit as you can watch the boat as it skims across the water. Perfectly trimmed as they're going flat out down this front straightaway. They're heading south on this 10-mile circuit. They've got 4 turns on this course and 4-mile straightaways.
And right now, Steve, we're taking a look at some real strategy. I'm making a guess on this, but I think Bill Gifford on the outside trying to slingshot this race, trying to get a little momentum going and drive through that turn and try to get in front of Carlton Myers and, of course, In Contempt, who he's got a good lead on right now.
And as we catch up to the lead group, here they come. You can see that SUNOCO Racing has pulled out a bit of a lead now on Carlton Myers as they work their way around the first turn here on the south side of this course here on lap number 1.
Bill Gifford's strategy obviously working. He slingshots the turn, takes a command of this lap, and right now is running very, very strong in the water. We'll jump back on board, take another look backwards now at the way he set up this turn. This could be the answer to why he's got the lead.
Well, let's take a look as he makes his way around this turn. You can see that he was on a bit on the outside lane, but he makes it nice and smooth, Joe. He doesn't turn too quickly. He wants to keep the speed and the momentum of the boat going, and he does that perfectly. The boat looked like it was on rails. It flies down this back straightaway.
Now back to live action. The boat definitely looks like it's on rails, and as you said, Steve, always remember, the more you turn, the more scrub you get, you lose some speed. We'll be back to Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey for more U.S. Offshore SUNOCO Grand Prix racing right after this. Time.
On board, Steve Michael and Joe Gates with you, and we get set for the second start of the afternoon. This, the super stock, the sport, and the production classes. And Joe, we've got some tremendous racing going on in the first two races of the year. We expect to see the same here today.
I think you're going to be right. And of course, we jump on board number 88, Obsession. That's Harry Turner's boat. That Outer Limits machine been running very good all year, and right now, as you always say, Steve, they're hunting for clear water, trying to get that hole shot on the start.
So very important, Joe, here. 24 boats starting here in this second start, and you want to find a clear lane to be able to pick up the quickest speed possible off the start, and they don't want to pass the pace boat here, Joe.
Good point, Steve. They must maintain their position behind the pace boat before they see the green flag. Of course, one of the shots we've been looking at all season is the famous helmet cam. That's Robert Bowman on board Harry Turner's boat, Obsession. He is the navigator.
Well, he's smiling in that picture, Joe, and he's got to be smiling here because it looks like they're set for the start.
Green.
And they got a great start, Joe. They're right out there in front of the pack. They came so very close to passing the pace boat. They had to hold back a bit, and they backed off the power just enough so they wouldn't pass the pace boat, but they got a great start, and they're leading the field.
Switch down to the camera on the start-finish line now on the beach, and as you said, Steve, we were on Obsession. That boat jumped out to a great start in the sport class, but right behind him a boat that will be pushing him hard. That's Fever. That's Joe SGRO on board. That boat always fast. We jump on board. That's Joe Latana, Joe SGRO, and Jeff Cropper. This boat always known for blinding speed.
They've been dialing this boat in since the first race of the year, Joe, as we watch this crew like a fine ballet move up to challenge Obsession for the lead.
Very fast boat, always with that reputation. Of course, here come the sea boats. There's Bodyguard, Whiplash, Danka Sharp machine just went by. That's been an ongoing battle all year long. I expect to see more of that today.
As we pan back on the rest of the field, there's a Shockwave, and imagine that right alongside. And as they go down the front straightaway, imagine that we go on board with Al Izzo, Kurt Berg, and Al Pando. Last year they finished third at this race. They would love to win it today, Joe.
Well, Steve, winning may be the name of the game, but survival may turn into the definition of who's going to get the checkered flag here. These rollers very subtle, but they're looking like they're starting to build. A lot of impact on the water.
And some of the production boats going by. There you see the boat out in front. That's Bronx Phantom as we look in our screen, the red and the blue top.
We go on board now the Danka Sharp machine. They call it Whiplash. The driver-owner, Steve Thiel, and, of course, John Flanagan on board. This boat been battling all season long with Mobile One, Bodyguard, and Sierra.
Steve Thiel would just love to win today. He has finished runner-up in the first two races of the year, and a year ago here at Point Pleasant, he finished second. So he would like to pull off a victory today, and they're right in the thick of it, right in the mix. And here's the boat out in the overall lead. SUNOCO Racing, Bill Gifford on board.
Bill Gifford doing the driving. Richard Dancision on the throttles. And Steve Szilagyi, the riding crew member and navigator. Right now, those three men, Steve, have one thing on their mind. Stay out in front and stay in front of this man.
Yes, Jack Carmody out of Austin, Texas, and Art Lilly out of Millersville, Maryland. Side by side, working as the crew. And, of course, they missed the first race of the year, but, boy, did they show themselves strongly in Chicago. They came away with the victory. And Jack Carmody knows how to get to the checkered flag. He's won many races in his day. But these guys are determined to show well today out here on the open ocean. A good challenge for the drivers. The first two races, well, we had one at the lake in Lake Winnipesaukee, and then we were out in the Great Lakes in Chicago today, the open ocean.
And right now, another man that knows how to get to the checkered flag, especially in open water, running side by side with Bill Gifford. That's Carlton Myers, and how sweet it is. But right now, Carlton Myers doesn't seem to have the punch, not the power to catch up with Bill Gifford.
Well, as Carlton Myers works his way on the inside of the course, here's the Spirit of Texas, and now Lightning Jacks, which is back there a bit on the far lane on the backside, is starting to make their appearance. So John Woolley and Bill Durham out of New Jersey trying to close the gap on the top three.
First, second, third, and fourth place in contention in the open class. Great racing on the outside in the open ocean off the Jersey Shore. This boat, number 38, Spirit of Texas, trying to move up on the field as we switch to one of our turn cameras. And right now, a lot of action going on. Carlton Myers now on the outside trying to make a move on Bill Gifford. Still no soap, Steve. That boat does not have the power. Bill Gifford's in charge.
Well, interesting strategy here. SUNOCO Racing has moved to the inside lane, and how sweet it is to the outside lane, which means they've got to go around farther. There's Rolling Thunder, the yellow boat, in a battle right now, side by side with that boat going by. Utterly fantastic for the lead in modified.
As we jump on board the wing camera on Bill Gifford's race machine, In Contempt and, of course, Spirit of Texas, we saw just before the camera switch, Steve. They're pushing hard, starting to close up ground. Bill Gifford's got to keep his foot in it.
Interesting location as we watch it from this vantage point, Joe. You get a chance to see the rollers starting to build a little bit more here in mid-afternoon on the backside of the course. And here's Spirit of Texas trying to close the gap. They're doing it foot by foot, inch by inch.
Bill Gifford Gifford in Sunoco Racing has the lead, but can he maintain that lead? We'll come back and find out right after this timeout from the Sunoco Offshore Grand Prix from Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. As the best truck and engine company in North America, Navistar makes trucks that move products across the continent. We're also the company that builds trucks that you see every day in your community. And we're the company that builds the school buses to safely bring your children to and from school every day. We're also a leader in diesel engines for trucks, buses, and industrial equipment worldwide. Navistar's engines work hard. Now they play hard, too. Navistar's proven diesel engine technology is available worldwide through the Marine Corporation of America. That's Navistar, taking the
Boardwalk and Aquarium for round number 3. Tour for 1996, and as the fans watch with binoculars down at turn number 4, Joe, here comes the leaders of our race.
And Steve, Bill Gifford on the outside, just out of camera vision, trying that slingshot trick again on the inside and gaining some ground. That's Carlton Myers, how sweet it is. Next to him, that's the Spirit of Texas, Jack Carmody. And on the outside of them, John Woolley and Lightning Jacks. Let's see if Bill Gifford can pull it off again.
Our leaders are so close, you can put a blanket over them here from our camera location. And turn number 4, Gifford on the outside. And how sweet it is on the inside, side by side. But lurking right behind and trying to get into this battle here is the Spirit of Texas. He's on the inside going by, and here comes the 4th place man. Lightning Jacks, the boat out of New Jersey, has made up some wicked ground on the backside.
And as the first 4 boats in the open class continue to race down the beach, Bill Gifford takes the inside. This boat, Spirit of Texas, takes it on the outside, and in the middle, Carlton Myers right now, first and second place. It's bow to bow, Bill Gifford and Carlton Myers.
The top 3 very much on par as they work so closely together. Just a difference of about 2.5 seconds separating the leader from 3rd place. Joe, that is close after 10 miles of racing as we start lap number 2.
Certainly is true. All 3 boats very close. That battle continues for the position of first place in the open class. And right now, Bill Gifford seems to find some extra horsepower and some clear water. He's taken over the lead.
As the open boats go by here on the front straightaway, we shift our attention to the sport class. Here comes JOE SGRO in fever. That 28-foot Mana is dialed in. That deep V really moving here, Joe.
And from our camera position out on the course on turn 2, that is B88 Obsession running behind Fever in second place. He doesn't like that position.
Let's shift our attention now back to the Superstock class. Here's Bodyguard, your 1995 champion in this class, leading the way through, but lurking right behind is Mobile One. They won. They're fresh off a victory out of Chicago, Joe, and they'd love to close the gap here.
And talking about closing the gap, Steve, 3 boats that are definitely doing a job closing the gap on each other. Bill Gifford just out of our picture on the right. There's Spirit of Texas on the inside, and that is how sweet it is. Carlton Myers on the outside. All 3 boats very close and starting to converge on each other heading towards turn 1.
Jack Carmody and Carl Myers getting closer and closer as they work their way down this front straightaway in full flight, and we go back on board to Spirit of Texas with Art Lilly, the throttleman.
Jack Carmody at the steering wheel right now doing a good job, as he said, trying to keep it in a straight line, keep that speed up.
The difference between first and third is closed even more, Joe. It's down to less than 2 seconds as we've got a tremendous battle going on in the open class as we take a look back at Sunoco Racing. And speaking of Sunoco Racing, Joe, you had a chance to talk to a very special guest from Sunoco.
Thank you, Steve. With Dick Robinson from Sunoco Race Fuels. Dick, first, thanks a lot for being here. We know you're a busy man. Sponsoring this race is no easy task.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a real privilege to be here with you today, Joe. This is going to be a great event. We're expecting, tens of thousands of people lining the beach down here today to watch this premier event. It's probably the best offshore powerboat race in the country. Got a history of 26 or 7 years of continuous involvement here. And we're real proud to be associated with. As you're aware, we're the official fuel of U.S. Offshore, and they needed a sponsor for this particular event, and since it's right in our marketing heartland, we decided to step aboard with them and help out with this particular event, and we're real proud to be affiliated with them.
Well, Dick, we're real proud to be affiliated with you, as you well know. One thing that's always interesting to talk about, Sunoco Race Fuels, the name is synonymous with motorsport all over the world.
Well, I'll tell you, Joe, we have a lot of fun. We participate in all different kinds of racing. We're involved in NHRA drag racing, in NASCAR stock car racing, powerboat racing, motorcycles, you name it. If it's racing out there, it's probably got our fuel in it.
Well, I can understand that, Steve. It's like they always say. For those who know, it's Sunoco. Back to you.
Well, thank you, Joe. Sunoco Race Fuels has a great tradition of sponsorship and support throughout the world of motorsports, whether it's Trans Am racing or oval track racing. Power and performance, racers need them both, and Sunoco helps provide them both. Sunoco has found the racing scene to be the ultimate test for its product. They try it on the track. so you can drive it on the road. And SUNOCO Race Fuels, on land or at sea, for those who know, it's SUNOCO.
Well, thank you, Steve. SUNOCO, of course, the title sponsor of this race here in New Jersey, in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. We go back to live action on board Bill Gifford's SUNOCO race machine. That is the wing camera, great vantage point. Unfortunately, Bill Gifford dropped back a little bit. He's now running in third position in the open class. That is Spirit of Texas on his right, and out in front, that is Carlton Myers in the red boat. How sweet it is.
How sweet it is with Carlton Myers, won here a year ago in 1995. And here's Fever looking for a victory this afternoon as they continue to lead the boat out of Cape Cod, Obsession, but not by much, as Harry Turner continues to try to close the gap. Now, last year, Obsession finished 8th in this race, the worst finish for him all year long. And if you asked Harry Turner in a corner, Joe, he might say this is the race that he lost for the championship last year.
Lightning Jacks, John Woolley, Bill Durham running in fourth position in the open class. Right now they run along the beach. We'll have to check on their progress when we come back right after this time out from the SUNOCO Offshore Grand Prix from Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey.
On Bodyguard, and slowly working their way up on the inside of this course.
Both boats running along the beach in the rollers and the swells right now. Mobil 1 taking the lead away from Bodyguard, and that boat doing a good job of running in these swells.
Team Progression hanging on to the lead in the production class. Now remember, they won at Lake Winnipesaukee, and they're just ahead of Media Master on the outside of the course right now.
Both of those boats a matter of seconds apart. If we see, imagine that. That's a B boat. That's a sport class boat. Trying to reel in the leaders in that class. We go on board that same boat. Imagine that. Kurt Berger on the throttles. Right now, people having to back off a little bit. These swells getting a little larger on the beach side of the course, Steve.
Weather's changed a bit since the start of this race as the wind continues to blow off to the beach, as we see Bronx Phantom trying to close the gap and stay in the top 3 in that production class.
Bronx Phantom, a Will Smith designed vessel, a very, very high-tech boat. Boat is definitely coming on in the Pro Tour Series. We take a look now at another sport boat. That's B1 Shockwave, last year's champion in that class.
Here's a local favorite, Joe. That's Jersey Pirate out of Point Pleasant. Mike Fultzer is the man who is the owner, and the driver, Tom Lieb, is the navigator as they work their way down the front side of this course.
And now for the battle in the open class, switching out to turn 2. Right now, Carlton Myers cuts in front of the Spirit of Texas, washes him down. This could be a critical moment, Steve. It's getting a little lumpy out there. You can tell by the camera shot. Things are getting a little rough on the outside of the course.
The 2 leaders scissored back and forth, and now Carlton Myers is coming back the other way. It looks like Carlton Myers may have lost a grip on exactly where the course was at that moment, and he cut right in front of the Spirit of Texas, and now it looks like they've got it all straightened out as Gifford Racing now moves up a little bit closer, and that's got to help him as he get close to the top 2.
All 3 boats evidently involved in that situation. Right behind and coming strong, Lightning Jacks number 5. That's going to put all 4 boats right back in the battle for first place.
Here comes Rolling Thunder in modified, and they're rolling well, Joe. They're out in front of Utterly Fantastic. There's the gap, not much, just about 2 boat lengths between first and second place.
And Steve, let's take another look, a flashback at that incident that took place on turn 2 for the open class lead. Carlton Myers a little off course, turns inside, and maybe too quickly, he cuts off Jack Carmody, Art Lilly, and Spirit of Texas, washes the boat down. We don't know if that'll have any effect on that boat at all. Could be the motors don't like water. Now let's go inside the cockpit of Jack Carmody and Art Lilly.
No, it's not. We ran off course. Gotta go right. He's way off course. We'll go. Go. Shoot, he's going to beat us anyway.
Back to live racing action. The battle in the open class in Contempt, who came in this race in 4th place in the standings, sitting up in the top 5, and they're trying to close the gap right now on Lightning Jacks, who is sitting in 4th position.
A lot of tight racing, Steve, in every class. Here's another good race going on. Pennzoil, the big yellow machine, number P70, running in the lead right now in Pro Stock. And, of course, this boat, another yellow machine, B6 Fever. That's Joe SGRO on board. His boat leading Obsession right now as we jump on board with Joe SGRO. Watch him fight that wheel. He's trying to keep that lead over Obsession, number 88. Looks over his shoulder. He hopes he doesn't see that boat behind him.
Boy, that little 28-foot Mana trying to hold off the 37-foot. Here it comes. Outer Limits boat Obsession. as Obsession, with Harry Turner getting closer and closer to Fever as this race works down. And we take a look at Jaws, who is sitting in second place in Pro Stock. They're trying to close the gap on Pennzoil.
And behind them, having a little trouble running in these big seas out here, P2 Fit America, the 36-foot skater, running in Pro Stock class, owned by Nationwide Marine. That's Ed Thornton and Bruce Grout out of Pompano Beach, Florida.
And right behind them, Stylen in the Pro Stock class. They're back a bit. They won the first race of the year at Lake Winnipesaukee. They finished here 6th a year ago. They would love to win today. And here in Super Stock, Bodyguard, your national champion of a year ago, out in the lead.
And right on his hip and pushing very hard, as is always the case in every race so far this year, that is Robert Loeffler on board Mobile One.
Let's listen in as we go back on board the Spirit of Texas.
We're way off course. Slow down, slow down. Slow down, go behind me. Slow down. Okay, now. Dog the motors? Yeah. Sorry, he's off course. We're into the bend. Jack, I would never cut behind him like that. Artie didn't have a choice. We're done.
You heard it. Art Lilly said we're done. We'll have to wait and see. That's the second time they've been washed down. How sweet it is, taking the outside corner and maybe putting a little too much water on the Spirit of Texas. Modified leader Rolling Thunder leading utterly fantastic. Stay tuned. More action coming up after this timeout from Point Pleasant.
See, there is your leader in the looking for win number 2 in a row here in Point Pleasant. That's Carlton Myers out of Candace, New York, in the lead with that beautiful 40-foot skater.
And right now running well in these big swells, but pushing him hard. This is the boat, Spirit of Texas, the boat that was washed down earlier. Evidently, Art Lilly might have been wrong. They still are running. Don't seem to be running quite as fast, but they are keeping a good pace. So is Bill Gifford in the Sunoco race machine. All 3 boats running along the beach. The crowds are loving this, Steve.
And that big number 88 starting to stretch the margin out here with Lightning Jacks trying to close the gap, sitting back in 4th place. But Gifford Racing pulling away a bit at a time. And here comes your leader in the modified class, utterly fantastic, as they have swapped positions now, as Andy Trouth has taken over the lead. And here comes Rolling Thunder doing everything they can as they air it out to try to close the gap, but it's not working right now.
Good call, Steve, because that boat pushing it very hard as we see Priority running in 3rd position. Both boats pushing the envelope, trying to get a little more air, trying to run on top. Andy Trouth starting to make the big move machine run a little bit faster. They're going to have their work cut out to handle him today.
Good battle here in the modified class as we watch Priority come by. They were 4th last year in the modified championship, and they placed 4th here a year ago, so they're 1 position better today as they come by us here on the beach. As we go back upstairs and we take a look at Andy Trouth, this boat has been on the fly, Joe. They've won the last 2 races of the season, and of course they have only lost once in the last year and a half.
Utterly fantastic, has a fantastic record, Steve, as you say. They've won a lot of races, always seem to run up top. We take a look over their side, and there is In Contempt. That's Patrick Patel out of Brick, New Jersey. That boat, the Big DB, tried to take advantage of these big swells, maybe going to make a move on the open class. Now let's take a look at this week's Driver's Corner. All about balance and control of a race boat, because let's face it, to be able to run a race boat successfully, you've got to be in control of it. And we're talking about trim tabs, outdrives, and propellers. Let's take a look at this week's Driver's Corner.
This outdrives number 6 Mercruiser. It goes up and down. What we do with this is that the throttle man adjusts this for the sea conditions to lift the bow or lower the bow, depending on the conditions, and jump it over waves. If you go into turns, you will tuck the drives in a little bit.
Another important factor of the race machine, the all-important trim tabs. They control the attitude of the boat, forcing the bow up and down as the race continues. And of course, the all-important propellers. They are the driving force, the transmission, if you will, of the race machine. They create movement through the water.
So it's plain to see that balance in a race situation is everything, how the boat sets and rides in the water.
Yes, this, like you said, is the business end of the boat. The throttle man controls this end of the boat. The throttle man and myself have to be in sync on what we do here. We talk a lot in the cockpit, but attitude of the boat, different sea conditions, how you run the boat, depends on whether you finish the race or if you're competitive.
Exactly that. And that's this week's Driver's Corner, where we've talked about trim tabs, outdrives, and prop selection.
Back here to racing action. Fever out there in the lead in the sport class, trying to close the gap, however, is Obsession, the boat out of Massachusetts. And Fever continues to cut nicely through the wave as JOE SGRO is dialed in this afternoon. But Harry Turner's won the first 2 races of the year. He would love to make it 3 in a row.
Harry Turner won't back off right now, running along the beach. The crowd realizes there's a real race going on, as there is in this Pro Stock class. Number 70, Pennzoil, having his own way so far, but behind him and starting to close ground, reeling him in, is the team from Jaws.
Well, Jaws, last year's 1995 champion, Ronnie Appleby, David Horstman, and John Stallings on board. 3 drivers from New Jersey, and here comes Rolling Thunder. That's the sister ship of M2.
M2 Rolling Thunder running in second place in the class. M3, of course, his sister ship, and both boats from Point Pleasant, New Jersey.
Here comes Great Lakes Castor in third right now in the sport class. In the first 2 races this year, they have finished in second place. They're trying to stay up in the top 3 as we see Styling now in Pro Stock. This boat out of New York doing very well in this race this afternoon.
That boat running in third place, number 17, Styling. That boat a previous winner, trying to start to repeat itself, see if it can get up in the pack and maybe take over the lead from Nicky Coutreau's Pennzoil machine.
And a super stock class starting to close up a bit, Joe. Here's Bodyguard out in the lead in that C class.
Alfa Ala's C1 machine, that boat last year's national champion, as you said earlier in the show, Steve, trying to keep a good gap between him and Mobil 1, but right now that gap is starting to narrow. We pan back, and there's Mobil 1 right on his heels and pushing hard.
Mobil 1 just 3 seconds back, sitting in second place. Great crowds this afternoon on a picture-perfect day from New Jersey. We'll come back from Point Pleasant Beach for Grand Prix. Our leader, how sweet between first and second. As you can see, the Spirit of Texas, who's been hosed down twice already today, Joe, hanging right in there.
And another boat that's hanging in there in third place, Bill Gifford, SUNOCO Racing, number 88, on his hip, running in fourth place and seems to be losing a little bit of ground. Number 5, Lightning Jacks, all 4 boats running well. And the leader in the modified class, the Moo Machine, utterly fantastic, leading over Rolling Thunder.
6 boats came here today in the modified class, and right behind Rolling Thunder, the boat out of Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey, still within about 10 seconds between first and second. And here comes In Contempt. That boat sitting in 5th place right now in the open class, and during the season their best was a 3rd in Chicago last race.
Leading in the sport class, number 6, Fever. How long can they hold that lead? Obsession is pushing hard. They're right over their shoulder. Here comes Harry Turner. He's got the hammer down. That big number 88, the Outer Limits machine, really starting to fly on this backside of the course.
Pennzoil, the boat out of New York, has the lead in the Pro Stock class in a real dogfight with Jaws as it works its way around turn number 2. They won here a year ago in Point Pleasant.
Another boat that won here a year ago in Point Pleasant, C1 Bodyguard, running out in front of Mobil 1, but just barely. This super stock class, a very exciting competitive class. Let's take a look back at the first race of the season, Lake Winnipesaukee in the super stocks. Both boats battling hard, trying to reel in Danka Sharp. And I got to tell you, Steve, we still have 4 boats running hard. Bodyguard running back and forth right now. There's Danka Sharp moving on the inside and really taking that corner well.
Neck to neck, the battle for second, but now they are starting to play out the battle for the overall lead. Here's Sierra side by side as they head down into turn number 1.
And Bodyguard in 4th position, unusual for that boat. He likes to be running out front in that open water, Steve. We don't know if he's got enough power today to catch him.
Bodyguard was the champion of a year ago, but right now they've dropped back. This is the battle for second place, and Mobil 1 really airing it out. They're flying down this front straightaway.
And both boats, Steve, running in a little traffic. Some slower boats in front of them. Sierra had to move over a little bit, pinch into that line, and that is definitely critical. It's going to get real tight up here as they approach this corner.
Both boats now right at the limit, and they moved up to Danka Sharp. Danka Sharp now in your picture on the inside, and they're working their way past Danka Sharp, the boat out of Connecticut. The battle now for the lead is 3 strong.
And Steve, Danka Sharp gets a little loose, takes a little air, it slows him down. Look at that. And Mobil 1 and Sierra go by in a flurry. Very, very tight race. Now the battle for first is joined. It's 1, 2, 3 in your picture right now for the super stocks.
Sierra now starting to move up a little bit more side by side, sponson to sponson with Mobil 1 as they head down toward turn number 1. Let's see if Sierra, who's going to have a little bit of a shorter route coming into turn number 1, can they maintain their lane and force Mobil 1 to the outside?
And you know, Steve, Charlie Schaefer's got to have it in his mind. The flip last year that cost him a race. You see Schaefer on the inside with the Sierra machine running right in front of Mobil 1. He's now passed and got a lead, but it's a small lead. Can Mobil 1 catch him?
As they race off the corner with 2 laps to go, Sierra now on the inside, now starting to pull away. 1, maybe 2, now 3, now 4 boat lengths ahead of Mobil 1, who's forced to the outside.
And Danka Sharp now getting his boat under control, finding some speed, moving up, challenging for second place. Mobil 1 on the outside, Danka Sharp on the inside, now takes second place.
Back here to live action, how sweet it is with Carlton Myers continues to lead. JOE SGRO alongside the throttleman out of Babylon, New York.
Exciting racing, and right now, Steve, the question is, how long can Texas hold on? The Spirit of Texas has been washed down twice, trying to close the gap, get back up to run beside the leader, and he's running in second place on his hip and pushing hard. Closing ground, I might add, Bill Gifford SUNOCO Race Machine, that boat running in third place in the open class.
The top three boats separated by less than 6 seconds. A great race going on in the open class, and so in the modified class. As we look on the far side, there's Rolling Thunder. We saw Moo go through, the leader in modified, and the difference now between first and second, less than 2 seconds as we look at In Contempt, the boat sitting in 5th place in the open class.
As we talked earlier in the show, Steve, In Contempt starting to get some more power on the backside of the course, running very well in these big seas out there, and those swells are bigger than they appear. We cut back down on turn 4 on the beach. Right now, Utterly Fantastic, just a very little bit of a lead over Rolling Thunder, the boat out of New Jersey. This is going to be quite a race in the modified class.
Utterly Fantastic, boy, they've stretched the margin out, Joe. It's up to about 3 seconds, which is nothing, and as we look down the front straightaway, you can see how close they are. And coming out of turn 4 is your leader in the sport class, Fever. Now, they're 4th in the standings coming into the race today. Joe, they've finished 7th at Lake Winnipesaukee and 5th in Chicago. They need a great result today, and right now they're getting it, because look at the lead they've got on second place Obsession.
And right now, talking about Obsession, just clearing through turn 4, knowing Harry Turner as I do, he's always called himself the real deal. Now we're going to find out. He's going to put the hammer down, run down this beach, see if he can close that gap.
Up close and personal with the Spirit of Texas as it continues to fly down this race course. They're trying to close the gap. We'll see if they can.
Now running out in front in this exciting outside and pushing hard, closing ground is Mobile One.
Joe, on the inside, it looks like Mobile One has found some clear water, and they're starting to visibly close the gap between first and second place. Now they're almost side by side as they come down that front straightaway.
It's bow to bow, and right now Mobile One found some extra power, some flatter water. He's just taken the lead. Mobile One is leading in the super stock race.
Mobile flying down that course right now, setting a blistering pace through this very choppy water. The wind coming off the beach today, blowing out onto the surface of the water. Just perfect for these boats here in the super stock class.
Robert Loeffler has his Mobile One trimmed out perfectly. Very little boat in the water. He has now taken over the lead, as this boat has in the sport class. Number 88, Harry Turner's Obsession, has now taken the lead from B6. That's Fever, Joe SGRO, running in second place.
Obsession, who has won 2 in a row, would like to make it 3 in a row this afternoon. Fever, who is looking for another top 5 finish to keep into the points chase with Obsession, now sitting back in second place. Hopefully for them, they'd love to switch positions before this one is over this afternoon.
Well, we both know Joe SGRO. You know, he's pushing hard. We take another look at him. He's not going to give up. That boat is going to be all the way on the edge and beyond. Joe SGRO known for pushing the envelope.
That boat at the limit right now as it flies through the water here on the inside of the course. Now on the backside of the course, here's the battle, the overall lead for the Pro Stock class. Pennzoil on the inside trying to stretch the margin out on Jaws. Jaws working the outside route, maybe finding some clear water. As Pennzoil now starting to slowly inch their way ahead of Jaws, now 1, maybe 2 boat lengths in the lead. Joe, this is really heating up for a great race finish.
And talking about finish, Bodyguard falling off the pace. Mobile One, evidently too much for him, pushing hard, may have exhausted those engines. We'll have to wait and see what happens. The 30-foot shadow, the Pennzoil machine, the big yellow boat with 3 300-horsepower engines on it. That's Nicky Coutreau and Shay Mayhew out of Diamond Point, New York. The boat definitely running very well right now. Jaws trying to make a move. Right now, let's go down to dockside. Steve's with one of our key sponsors here in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey.
Thanks, Joe. Well, Paul Repizzardi from Budweiser alongside. How are you enjoying the race so far, and how'd you guys get involved?
Oh, it's been great. The weather's beautiful, fantastic day. We've got involved many years ago with Budweiser and also the local vendors in the community. Our sponsorship is great. Everybody's having a good time, and it's been a blast.
How about the girls? You guys enjoying the race so far?
Yeah, we're enjoying it. It was great.
All right, so far everything's going great down here for Paul and Budweiser. We're going to go back to you, Joe.
Thanks a lot, Steve. As we see our first winner of the afternoon here in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. That's number 39, Carlton Myers, and how sweet it is. They take the checkered flag in the open class. And making it 3 in a row this year for the U.S. Offshore Pro Tour. Utterly fantastic. The Moo Machine wins the checkered in the modified class.
Joe, it wasn't easy for him, though, as Rolling Thunder gave him a run for the money today. Arnold D'Ambrosio, along with his son David from Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey, were right there nip and tuck all day long. And in the super stock class, Mobile One comes home with the victory the first time here. Robert Loeffler out of Denver, North Carolina, and Tom Russell having a picture-perfect day. They have won now 2 in a row here in 1996 after winning in Chicago.
And taking the checkered flag in the highly contested Pro Stock class, Pennzoil P70, the big yellow machine of Nicky Coutreau, a local favorite. They had a great battle with Jaws all day. They came away the winner.
And for this crew, they have now won here in Point Pleasant Beach 2 years in a row. And the winner in the sport class, Obsession. They have won 3 straight races in 1996. And coming home in second place in the open class is SUNOCO Racing, Bill Gifford at the controls.
Bill Gifford doing a super job on board today. That boat fought hard, was in the lead quite a bit of this race, and backed off to take second place. We'll be back to Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey with more from the SUNOCO Offshore Grand Prix right after this timeout. So stay tuned.
Time Network's presentation of the Sunday from Point Pleasant, New Jersey has been brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, and by Navistar, a world leader in diesel power, and by SUNOCO and SUNOCO Race Fuels, and by Motorola, your authorized two-way radio dealer. Now down to Steve Michael.
Well, after 3 races here in 1996, the national point standings look this way. How sweet it is has moved themselves back into first place with a victory today. Utterly fantastic. Continues to be on a roll. They've won 3 races in a row for 1996, even though Rolling Thunder gave them a good run. And in Pro Stock, Jaws leading by just 26 points over Euro Marine. In Super Stock, Mobil 1 leads, and Sport Obsession continues to win. And in production, Media Master continues to lead. Well, let's go down and join my partner. Here's Joe Gates.
Thank you, Steve, with Jim Brown down here in the winner's circle. Jim, what a great day on the New Jersey shore. Stop number 3 on the Pro Tour. You've got to be a happy man.
Joe, we got real lucky again with weather. I couldn't believe it. This is just like the last 2 races. 2 days before the race, it was rainy, it was nasty. 1 day before the race, it cleared up, and here we are again with 80-degree weather and 45 race boats out here. It was a real exciting day of racing. We ran them all at once, which it's a change from what we've been doing. The first 2 races, we were splitting them into 2 races, and this time we ran them all because out on the ocean at one time, we never saw so many boats racing bow to bow going around these turns. I imagine you got some good shots for the TV show.
Yes, we did. And by the way, talking about good shots and TV show, now it's on to round number 4. Halifax, Nova Scotia should be a great event there.
I think it will be. In fact, some of the teams are leaving their equipment here, getting ready to go to Nova Scotia. They're going to fly home, come back up here to Point Pleasant, and tow right on up to Nova Scotia. I've been giving interviews with people in Nova Scotia. They are really excited about us coming to Halifax. And then from there, we go on to Lake of the Ozarks, so that should be fun too.
Well, I couldn't agree more, Jim. The United States Offshore Pro Tour for 1996, alive and well, doing a great job. All the races thus far and the subsequent races look like they're going to be in great shape. And Steve, I'll tell you what, U.S. Offshore Pro Tour is definitely drawing huge crowds. You saw it here today on the beach. 30 to 40,000 people crammed on that beach. They absolutely loved it. Back to you.
Well, 3 races gone in the season and 100 miles around Point Pleasant Beach today. And Carlton Myers, you've taken the schneid off your back. You picked up your first victory of the year, and what a dominating performance.
Well, thank you very much. I think the team earned this one more than I did. You know, we have just had so much bad luck this year and put a lot of effort into these motors, and you know, nothing has really gone right except for today. And like I said, my team earned it more than I did today.
You got to love this course. You've won here 2 years in a row, and you've won here 6 times now in your career overall.
Yes, it's actually I love the crowd here. It's an exciting place to race for that exact reason. They always have the race set up very nicely here. It's the only race that I know of in the United States that has gone 27 years in a row.
And talking about in a row, here's a boat that makes it 3 in a row for 1996. Utterly fantastic, takes the checkered and modified class. Steve is down with a happy crew.
Well, Rob Stevenson and Andy Trouth alongside. They were utterly fantastic again. Guys, that Moo machine was running great. You had a good battle going on with Rolling Thunder early on, but you were able to pull away. Tell us about the victory.
I tell you, those Rolling Thunder guys, and especially the guys in priority, when we took off, they were laying down the law to us. They were after this win. They wanted this win. It looked like their water. We had to push hard all day long, and it wasn't until the end that we finally found just a little bit of speed to catch up with them. The Power Quest boat, the ULX 110 oil, I mean, they all put a part to getting it here. The team of myself and Rob, I mean, it's just been working great, and we're looking forward to going to up there to Canada to show the people in Halifax just what an offshore race is really like, and having a great year so far. Love it.
Thank you, Steve. You're right. Andy Trout having a great year every year. Another winner, number 70 Pennzoil, Nicky Coutreau. That boat wins in the Pro Stock class, a great race over Jaws.
And the Super Stock class is turning out to be one of the most dynamic on this series. Mobil 1 now has won 2 in a row. And here's Joe with the winners.
Thank you, Steve, in the winner's circle here on the New Jersey shore with the winners, Mobil 1 and Super Stock. Robert Loeffler, what a great run today.
Well, it really was, Joe. The Mobil 1 race boat ran perfect today. We had a really good battle going on with Bodyguard, just trying to keep the boat together, and ran perfect. It was a little rougher than a lot of people thought out there. I think we had the right setup today, and we made it through the race. So we're really happy to be here in the winner's circle.
In the sport class, Obsession with Harry Turner on board has made it 3 in a row, and this boat has been the class of the field here in 1996. Can they keep it going? And in the production class, Bronx Phantom has worked their way up from 6th to 3rd, now with a win in 1996. Well, round number 3 in the books, and of course for the Sunoco Offshore Grand Prix, a great day, but a very taxing day, a very physical day on the water because it was very hot out here today, Joe.
Certainly was. As you called it the first of the show, the water built up. It got really rough out there. It was some exciting racing for all the tens of thousands of people on the beach.
And for Carl Myers in the open class, boy, it's been a long time since he had a victory, but boy, what a dominating performance he put together after the first few laps.
I tell you what, you're right. First 3 laps, it was a toss-up. It was Gifford's Sunoco machine. Of course, the boat out of Austin, Texas, the Spirit of Texas, but both boats had a little problem, and he ended up to win the checkered flag. Good for him. Now we'll see if he can maintain that winning way.
Of course, Andy Trout, he wins his 3rd in a row. He is on a real roll here, and of course, some of the other classes, some great racing too.
Obsession in the sport class, what can you say? He's won 3 in a row. We'll see if he can continue. Fever had him all the way. They were back and forth. Fever broke. We go into the A class.